ask why you take such a wide stance when you sit?
I don't actually.
We have things dangling there and they need to breathe.
My reason was I started like this and then realized you couldn't see my cool Halloween themed shirt.
Oh, so you're spreading so you can see the...
It says Kitty's first sacrificial offering.
And it's a mouse.
And it's a mouse.
Oh my God.
It's
Kind
very
of looks
cute.
like Siamese, except it's...
Yes, it looks like a cat.
because they do that.
And he has brought us a present, although typically in our house, Logan would be the one screaming up the halls. With,
I love that he announces when he's killed another puffball. It's my favorite.
That's terrifying.
He just has like a bunch of toys and toy mice and puffballs. And every day he picks one up and goes, "Rah!" and like brings it to us and drops it. He's like, "Rah!" Like, yes, you did good. Thank you. You killed that craft supply real good.
Hey, how you going?
I'm going good. How are you?
I'm all right.
You ready to learn a little bit about each other?
Oh yeah, I forgot that's what we're doing.
Get in deep. Has there ever been an episode where you remembered what we were doing?
No. I try to disassociate until the cameras go on.
That's fair. Yeah. I tend to stress out about every little detail until the cameras go on.
I'm still stressing out. Are we? How confident are we that our levels are going up on that thing over there?
Kim's watching it.
I'm scared.
Kim's watching it. Also, last episode, Kim's camera died. We thought we were doing a good job that day. We weren't. I'm using my camera now that I shoot my videos with, and it should have Kim the whole time.
Should.
You'll be good. Thanks for being back.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys for being back.
Hi, guys.
Let's get deep.
Today's a weird, wacky one.
Let's get into it. I want to know more about you.
So the whole thing is how we started doing Nintendo, like how we got into liking Nintendo stuff.
Yes.
And then talking about it on the internet to millions of people.
Yes. So I was watching one of the last podcasts and we were talking about ourselves. I tried a new weird and wacky thing and people really liked it. And one of the comments I saw that I liked was, honestly, I would like a whole episode just about the both of you. Learning about how you got into video games, what got you into YouTube, how you got from A to B, from birthing out the canal to now sitting here.
Careful what you wish for.
In front of all of you making this podcast. And I think that idea is pretty sick. So 23 episodes in, let's get to know each other.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Wow. We touch each other too much.
I know. Well, not enough. We didn't recreate that photo yet.
That one?
No, the one of Jackson.
The one of Jackson?
That you sent me of Jackson.
Oh, kissing a man.
Kissing a man.
That's right.
You messaged me and said we should recreate that photo.
I want to make it my phone background.
I'm totally down. I said to Bob, yeah, I would do it. We should take a photo of it too, though.
Right now? You're not going to.
You want to play chicken?
I kind of want to play chicken.
I'm leaning in. You're leaning away.
Do you want to just kiss me, or are we playing a game right now?
Kim?
Oh no!
Do you want to be in the room?
What in our lives led us to this moment where we're about to kiss?
About to kiss. Okay, yeah. You know what we should do? We should start.
We'll kiss at the end, guys.
We get like this close, and then like the screen freezes. And you hear the voiceover. You might be wondering how we got in this crazy position. I want you to go first because I feel like, honestly, I do a lot of talking on this podcast.
Right. I want to break the fourth wall a little bit. You brought up this idea.
Yeah.
And it looked like you started tearing up. And I'm scared about you talking about your journey.
It's just, without going into all the anxiety stuff again, when I do them in the podcast, it's a lot. And it's stressful, and sometimes I like to forget who I am and just talk about video games.
Okay.
So the idea of like, let's dive into my life and all the things that got me to this anxiety-riddled point is a little heavy-handed, which is why when I said to you that's heavy, it's because it's hard for me to look back and think about this is heavy, I'm sorry, but to think about my childhood and to not think about the fact that games were literally the only thing that was good about my childhood.
Right. That's very different than my situation.
And that's fine. I love that for you. And I'm not going to go into the bad stuff today. I only want to talk about the good stuff. But we would
I mean, you got to say whatever you got to say. I feel like all of that's interesting stuff. But whatever you're comfortable
you
with. You
want to go
obviously.
into life? Tell me about life.
Right, hold on. The whole thing is supposed to be talking about how we got into doing Nintendo stuff. Okay, so I guess, I mean, I've been playing video games, especially NES and Game Boy. They've just been in my house since I was born. I don't know how they appeared there. My parents are not gamers, but my parents acquired an NES and a Game Boy for some reason. My brother's 2 years older than me. Maybe they bought it for him.
Have you never asked why there was a NES
There's
in the
no
house?
explanation. My dad played Tetris a little bit on the Game Boy.
Okay.
So
maybe they just had some money to spend that Christmas.
I think it was just like, that's the toy for the holiday season. So just get
So you
that.
think they got it for? No, because you would barely have been born for the NES.
Yeah. So I don't know. My dad was a jock, but he secretly liked nerd shit. So
I think that's most jocks.
I think he did this for himself.
Every jock likes at least one Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Whether they want to admit it or not.
Now being a nerd is cool.
Yes.
So now,
which is why we
are capitalizing
so heckin' cool
on this nerd market.
Why I mean, that's just why we just ooze charisma.
Do you remember the days when like it was like not cool to talk about like video games like at the lunch table?
No. Because I was such a nerd growing up. I didn't care. That was all me.
I mean, I didn't care, but that was like a thing. People would be like, look at weirdo Bob over there talking about.
I guess I vaguely remember, but school dynamics in Australia were very different. I don't think we really had like jocks and bullies and sport teams and cheerleaders. You know, we just kind of all went to school. We all wear the same outfits. We all like literally had uniforms, and there wasn't really we didn't have like local college sport teams for the school you were in or any of that. So everyone was just kind of on the level playing field, and the gamer friends hung out over there, and then the popular girls hung out over there, but they didn't really like spit on us or anything.
I wouldn't say I had it that bad. Like I was growing up like in a time when like it was like more acceptable to be as into like nerdy shit.
Well, yeah, obviously. Definitely there has been a huge shift in view there with the world at large.
But there was, like the popular kids were like, that's fucking weird.
I never had that.
No, I definitely had that a little bit. But then, there'd be the ones who are like, okay, tell me how to beat this boss. They're like, hey, Bob, come on, you play this game, right?
Hey, don't let Barry hear what I'm about to ask you, but Mario World 1?
For real.
How do I do that?
For real, that shit would happen.
Why are you talking now, Bob, Craig? I'm not.
I'm not. This never happened.
Get out of here, punk.
So, yeah, I don't know how the NES or Game Boy ended up in my house, but it's just always been there. So I always had that to play with. My parents hated when I played video games, though. My parents used to lock me and Will out of the house. They'd be like, it's nice out. Go outside.
The opposite of what I had. I was a prisoner.
No, my parents would be like, please leave, and they'd lock all of the doors. And we would crawl into the windows back in.
They were locking you out because they wanted alone time, or they thought that you were better off getting some sun?
Getting some sun.
Okay.
I was very pale.
That's
and also
fair.
probably they wanted some alone time.
That's also fair.
But we just fell into video games. And my parents were the type of parents who were like, you're only getting one console. Like the one console you have is all that you need.
What's your mom's name?
Kathy.
What's your dad's name?
Catherine. Bill. My dad is Bill.
I thought you said your dad's name was Catherine. No. It's like mom's name Kathy, dad's name Catherine. Okay, so Catherine and Bill.
Yes.
I just want to paint a mental picture. And then you had Bill and Will.
Yep.
So you were not as loved, or what's happening there?
Well, he was the first. And my dad...
They ran out of rhymes?
My dad's dad was... Okay, so my dad is William H. Wolfe. His dad was William H. Wolfe.
Okay.
So Will, my brother, is William P. Wolfe.
Wow.
So they screwed him a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
But they had to call him Will. And then my brother's son that he just had is Liam.
So he completely ruined it.
Well, it's William. Oh. They're all Williams. It's 4 Williams in a row.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that's why my brother is Will, because there's
Is
a lineage.
Liam short for William?
Yeah.
It is?
So my dad's Bill, my brother's Will.
I was
and
going to
this
say,
kid
I
is
thought it was
Liam.
Billy was short for William.
Billy, yes.
And Liam.
Billy, Willie, and Liam.
Okay. What does Waldo fit into that equation?
Waldo.
Yeah.
That is a different name.
Okay.
So, where was I? Yes, my parents would lock us out of the house, but we'd always crawl back in. My parents were the type of parents where we could only have one console. We somehow convinced them after the NES we wanted a Sega Genesis.
Okay.
Because that was the cool one. That was for badass kids.
Was it?
Yeah.
How'd that work out for you?
We played a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog and a game called Cyborg Justice, which I went back to. It is fucking terrible.
Never heard of it, I don't think.
Garbage game. At the time, I was all riding high on Sega. All my friends had Super Nintendo, and I was like, "Fuck you guys! We got Sonic over here. It's cooler. He's more badass." Now, looking back on it, so many better games on Super Nintendo.
With that jumping to mind, it's so weird how opposite these stories are because here Nintendo was the more popular console and Sega wasn't, and you had Sega. Where I grew up, Genesis Mega Drive was more popular. Sega was more popular in Australia, and I didn't have that. I had Nintendo and Super Nintendo.
I don't think
so. We flipped completely on both.
I don't think I had any friends. So to be fair, they were pretty neck and neck, Sega, Genesis, and
yeah, they
Super
did.
Nintendo.
They were competing.
But I didn't have any friends that had a Sega Genesis.
I didn't have any friends who had a Nintendo. I was the only Nintendo kid.
So I enjoyed my time with the Sega Genesis. Also, we had a Game Gear at a certain point.
Wow, you had money.
Apparently, now I'm thinking about it, it's very privileged.
Not even Game Gear money. You had battery money. That's what you had.
Yeah. Well, we had a
rechargeable.
You had to get the giant pack thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still money.
Still money. And then we had that, and then I tried so hard to get Dreamcast, but we ended up with an N64. Or no, I think we went to N64.
That's a good. Whoever made that happen helped you out there.
I think I wanted like a 32X or whatever, and everyone in my life was like, "That's a terrible idea." just go for the N64. And we got an N64 with no games, and we used to just go to Blockbuster.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I did.
I would just beg my parents to go
I think
to
we
Blockbuster.
caught up there because I did the same thing. I got a 64. I got a 64 late though.
I got it late too.
Okay, I got it with my money when I started working. I'm pretty sure. So
I didn't get that.
I was like 13 when I started working.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and one of the first things I was like, I just want to buy video games, and I think I bought a 64. It was either. No, I think I'm getting my consoles confused. That was GameCube. 64 I got a couple years before that with like pocket money and also help from my parents.
The next thing after N64, I wanted the Dreamcast really bad. And I remember, I think this was 5th grade. Was it that long ago?
We're very old.
We are very old.
But also young in the world of when video games created and got started.
So I remember I was begging my parents for that. And they were like, no, you got too much shit already. And then I said something like, what if I get an A in math class? And my mom's like, fine. Because she's like, you can't. You're a dumb kid.
You will never get that.
So I took a loose leaf paper and I wrote a contract because I didn't believe her.
And
I said, sign this. If I get an A in math, I'm getting a Dreamcast.
I love this
And she's
story.
like, fine. And she signed it. I got an A in math class, lost the contract. She said, that never happened.
No.
And I never got a Dreamcast until I was old enough to get my own. Well, a friend of ours.
Well, she
gave
just
us a
didn't
Dreamcast.
honor it because you lost it?
She's probably didn't even remember it ever happened.
Oh my God. You actually tried in math for nothing.
Yeah. And
What
that
a
was
waste.
that was a miserable math teacher too. She sucked.
What a waste. All right, you want me to catch up to there or what?
Sure. After that, I ended up getting our own consoles. We were old enough to work.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
We got whatever we wanted. When you were like 17 working for yourself and living at home, you just spent money on dumb shit.
Video games.
Yeah, you had dumb money, you know? You're not saving up for anything. You're just saving up for dumb stuff.
I had a similar with the NES. I was born and it was there. My parents had an interest in video games. I don't really know to what extent, because honestly, I didn't really ever see them play games. My mom would play the NES sometimes, but she would play like Mahjong and like
On the NES?
yeah,
Oh my God.
and like some other puzzle game she had. It was like animals, and it was like a puzzle. You just slide things around.
Interesting.
I don't know. It wasn't like a collection If anyone actually wants to look it up, it was I referenced it in an episode with Will. It had Chiller on there as well. It was a collection.
It had Chiller?
Yeah. It was a collection of like 30 something games.
I thought Chiller was like a weird like.
It had one on there called
thing.
like it was off brand.
Oh.
It was called like there was a game on there called Bad Dudes or something.
Oh, Bad Dudes is a legit game.
With the little
It's dudes with attitude.
little circles faces.
Yeah, I had that game.
Yeah.
You have to save the president.
Yeah.
Separate though. Yeah.
That
Are
was
you a
on
bad
there.
enough dude to save the president? People just coming in.
I don't know if it's raining, people walking. Yeah, anyway, she really only played some of the games on that thing. But alongside it, we had like every Mario. We had Maniac Mansion, which is how I got into my love of like
weird
point
games.
and clicks. Yeah.
I had Mario 3, skipped 2 for some reason.
I had two.
My Mario came with Duck Hunt, and we had the light gun.
I had Hook.
I had Back to the Future.
I didn't have that.
Because my parents knew that we liked the movie, so they got us the game. And that game is god awful.
I had Hook because my uncle was a big video gamer. He's like 10 years older than me, so that we weren't really that far apart. He was huge into video games. He had an NES and a Super Nintendo. So when I went over there, I'd play his games. He also had he was a PC gamer. And I think I've told this story too, but he had a whole wall about as big as this wall filled with boxed PC games, which is how I got into games like Monkey Island. But he had Hook. And so I was always like, I need this game. Like I loved Hook. So we got that eventually. I can't remember all the games we had. It's like a while ago now. But I loved the NES so much that my parents bought me a Super Nintendo and I didn't like it. All I had when they gave it to me was they gave it to me with Mega Man X.
Oh, it's the
best
game, man.
Mega Man X and Donkey Kong Country. Funny thing is now I love Mega Man X.
So Mega Man, I never had a Super Nintendo. So to fill in the blanks, I was also a PC gamer because I needed new games and I just got whatever. The second they came out with Super Nintendo emulation, Mega Man X was the first thing that I played.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
For some reason, it was really hard. I was pretty young and it was really hard.
You
and
really need the boss order.
I had a hard time playing it. So I thought it was, I remember thinking it looked pretty, but I wasn't really too big on like the graphical jump. Like I was young. I didn't really care that
I was all about, I was like, this is what it looks like at the fun zone. All these arcade graphics.
Well, that's another thing. I grew up in Australia. We didn't have arcades.
Really?
Yeah.
You're so close to Japan.
I know.
Couldn't just throw you some?
I don't know. I mean, also I had a very sheltered childhood where I didn't get to go and do anything. But as far as I know, I mean, I didn't have any arcades. My friends didn't go to arcades. We didn't talk about arcades. So yeah, there wasn't any. So the only experience I had playing games growing up was my NES and then Super Nintendo, and we had Donkey Kong Country and Mega Man X, and I hated Donkey Kong Country.
Donkey Kong Country's not a good game.
I only don't like it because I have no nostalgia for it, and I legitimately just didn't like it when I was a kid. So now when I play
have
it,
nostalgia for it if you had it as a kid, but you don't.
But I
because
didn't
it's a bad
play
game.
it. I didn't like it. And Mega Man X was too hard, and so I would just always play the NES, and I would never touch the Super Nintendo. So my parents were like, "Well, we're not going to buy you any more games." This was at a time where I didn't know how to. I didn't have video game. I didn't have internet. I didn't have video game magazines. I was the only kid I knew with a Nintendo. I was too young. Like at this point, I mean, I'm like 7. You know, I don't know how to go to a store and like look for games, right? So this is just all I knew about the gaming world. So they didn't know about Zelda or anything, and they were like, "Well, I guess we won't buy him any more games since he doesn't like this console." So my nan used to come over and play Donkey Kong Country. So eventually they were like, "Do you want it?" And she took the whole Super Nintendo. And they actually asked me and my brother, like, "Do you mind if she takes it?" We were like, "No, we don't care." We just didn't even want the Super Nintendo.
We put the NES at my grandma's house because we just wanted something to do at my grandma's house. And that's how I played
You know
NES.
what's funny though? I have 2 grandmas. That's okay. We have 2. We had 2 grandmas, obviously, like most people do. One grandma, very fun. Uncle lives there. So many games. Other grandma, snooze fest. Hated going, so boring. There was no saving grace there until she got the Super Nintendo. It was one thing to do when I went there, but guess what game she had? Donkey Kong Country and Mega Man X. So I would go there and play these games every time. I'm like, I hate these games.
Oh, no. I left the NES in my grandma's house all the way up until like 2017. And that was just, I would go to my grandma's house and play the NES as a full grown man. It was awesome.
Yeah, the NES is great.
Yeah.
I still to this day prefer the NES as a console. Obviously, way more because of nostalgia, because Super Nintendo did have better games.
It
had way better games.
NES had, looking back on it, especially when they released the stuff for Switch Online, I was playing all the games and I was like, wow, there is like not a lot of good NES games.
NES didn't
They
really...
really didn't figure out video games till Super Nintendo.
They had, I don't want to start listing them, but in my opinion, some of the best ones to go back and play now, like the Mario games. Kirby is one of my favorites.
Right.
Totally Rad is actually pretty underappreciated. I think that's a pretty totally rad, fun game to play.
I also had Mega Man 3, which I got at a Funko
Oh, the
Land.
Mega Man game's obviously sick.
Well, the first one's not. I also, my roommate now, I've known him since I was in first grade.
Castlevania was good too.
Castlevania's good. I traded my roommate now in first grade. I traded him a Mighty Ducks figurine for Ninja Gaiden 2. And I still have it.
That game's really expensive now.
I know. He got fucked.
Yeah, you did. You ruined him. I've gone back now though. I've developed a love for Super Nintendo. Like I've played all the Star Wars games. I actually really like those. Earthbound's one of my favorite games. Obviously, I went back and played Link to the Past.
I mean, my favorite game is still the original Mario. So NES really had an impact on me. I remember I had some like contractors doing work on the house or something,
Mm-hmm.
and like my parents never played NES. You know, like I never watched them do it. And for some reason, one of the contractors in the house was like playing the NES with us.
Oh.
And he
That's
was
fun.
like, you know, the secrets in Mario? And I'm like, no. And he
No.
showed us all of the little hidden mushrooms and the warp pipes. And I was like, there's warp pipes?
yo.
And then that random guy might be the whole reason I am the way that I am.
I remember finding the first warp pipe on my own. Like it was either the first warp pipe or the first flute.
So Mario
Because
3
my
would be
3
the
had
flute.
flutes.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to play them a lot and I found it. And that's when I was like, there's secrets. And that's when me and my brother went and just like looked and talked to everyone and found out, you know, the first one had secrets. I don't know if the second one did because it was a weird and wacky game.
I think it did, but yeah, it was a weird and wacky one. I didn't play that too much.
But yeah, NES, didn't play Super Nintendo, sadly. But I still wanted to stay in line with Nintendo. And there was a point where I was getting older, obviously in my teens, where I was getting a little burned out on the games we had. And I knew 64 existed. I had seen at Blockbuster games like Mario 64. So I was like, okay, let's get some pocket money going. Let's buy one of these for Christmas. And yeah, I got a 64 and my first ever 64 game and first ever time in a game outside of the NES and NES graphics, not counting the 2 games I hated and didn't play much of, Ocarina of Time.
Okay, that probably blew your brains
It,
out.
I can't explain it enough that I don't think you can't replicate that these days. I don't think there's any jump that we will ever take again. And I mean, mine was like a self-inflicted jump because I kind of skipped the 16-bit era, but I literally went from my favorite games being Mario and Maniac Mansion to playing Ocarina of friggin' Time.
Yeah.
Like I remember how mind-blowing it was. I remember the feeling of exploring the world and like just this insane excitement of like being awakened as a video gamer. But the one big moment that I still remember like looking at this giant TV that I had back then because my parents had this giant box TV. Like it was 5 times the size of me. It wasn't good. It was just huge. And I had
rear
that
projection, like
yes,
big screen
dude,
TVs,
massive. Because they ended up getting a plasma or something. So they gave me and they threw this in my bedroom because they had nowhere else to put it. I got very lucky, my 64 on that. And I still remember the moment where I was sitting, where I thought I'd finished the game when I pull the sword out, and I think that's the end. But then I become adult Link, and now the game starts again, and I realize I'm only halfway through, and like I just couldn't. My brain couldn't wrap my head around the fact that a game could last more than an hour. Let alone the fact I've been playing this for weeks and it just started again. I was like, what is happening?
I'm realizing I think I got screwed because my first 3D experience was probably PC stuff. And it was probably either X-Wing, which like didn't really have
That's
3D
not bad.
graphics, and Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem I
that's
played
not
a
bad.
lot. That I was like, whoa, look at these graphics. You mean I can give $1 to this girl and she'll show me her boobies? I just did that over and over again. Looking over my shoulder, making sure my parents weren't watching.
Duke Nukem is sick. That's a good one to play.
You want to dance? You want to dance? You want to dance?
I
Over and
think
over again.
possibly, I mean, I lose track. It's hard thinking back because I lose track of dates and when things came out. I might have played Monkey Island 4 on my uncle's PC before that. And that game is a little 3D.
Is it 3D?
It's a little 3D.
I always picture Monkey
bad
Island
3D.
as the art style that's like drawn, but that's only one of the games, right? It's always a different
Yeah,
art
it's
style.
weird how I think of it too that way. It's really weird. I think is the best one is 3, and for art style and gameplay. But the first 2 were DOS games. And the third one was that beautiful hand-drawn art style that has gone on to inspire pretty much every other point and click has replicated that art style. The 4th one took a leap to 3D and it's very dated now. And then the 5th one was in like 2008. It was like a Tales game. Maybe not 2008. 2011. It was a Tales game, so it looked like the Tales games. And then the newest one went back to 2D.
Right. And everybody's pissed about the way it looks.
Yeah, and I was a little initially I was like, this is kind of weird looking. Then I played it. It's actually kind of sick.
It looks fine.
Yeah, no, I like it a
fine.
lot. I don't like the Guybrush looks way too different. I think they could have found a better way to make him look like Guybrush. But I really like the art style, and they do this like Nickelodeon 90s, early 2000s charm with the art style, with the way the faces are expressed, but also they like will zoom in and cut to characters really close up, or like their hands when they do something funny. And it has the same humor of like when it cuts to SpongeBob and his face is like really like,
oh, a gross up.
Yeah, like a gross or like something like that. They utilize that a lot, which is pretty fun.
That's cool. You know what I really like?
What?
Coffee.
Oh shoot! Yeah, thank you, Kim. Yeah, you
She
did.
said it. No,
that's
she
what
did.
I mean. I
She
said
did.
thank you
You
because
sounded so sarcastic to your wife.
It wasn't.
Jesus Christ.
It wasn't sarcastic. Kim gave us a time call for the sponsor like 10 minutes ago, and I completely forgot.
We were on a roll. We're good. And the last trade ad we did it really well.
I haven't even got to the GameCube yet.
We got a long way to go. We're not even YouTubers yet in our story.
I haven't even talked about my depression yet.
We know. Jesus.
Trade is sponsoring this episode once again. Thank you so much, Trade, for being here and being a part. Do you want to talk about our selection, Bob?
Oh, yeah, sure.
That
I gotta whip
well,
out
I was
my
hoping you had
notes
it ready because I got to whip out something
I
as
got
well.
it right here. We got, if you go to drinktrade.com/Nontendo, we have a selection of coffees that we personally curated.
Handpicked and curated with the lovely people at Trade, and you can go and see it all there on the website. It's coffee that we've both had before.
Yes. Now, we specifically like to make espresso. We like milk espresso drinks,
Yes.
like lattes.
Lattes, yes.
Yes. We both have nice little machines for that.
I also make cold brew sometimes with that coffee, but yes.
I do that too. But I mostly stick to lattes, which is what this is right here. But there's other stuff on there that you can have. I mean, espresso, the beans you can use for anything really. But there's other stuff there if you like. Trade will take however you like your coffee.
It's
if you
almost
like making
Christmas.
cold brew, if you like having pre-ground.
You can home alone the beans on the ground when the burglars come in Christmas time to...
Yeah, they have that as an option too, right? You pick how you make your coffee, if it's pour over or whatever, if you make the little pods or whatever, you can pick that and they'll give you a curated list of local roasters that give you fresh coffee. It gives you a little roasting date on it.
Yeah, and actually,
it's great.
Last time we did this, we had a bunch of coffee up here and we talked about the fresh date. And I noticed Will was like, oh, let me see. And he started picking them up to see what the dates were. And there was one from literally like 3 days before we filmed.
He was like, whoa.
Oh, no, okay, they are pretty fresh.
He was ready to call it out. So the ones we have on there, among them are Temple Coffee Roasters, Reanimator, which I got specifically because my friend Piscini, who I film with all the time, he loves that place. He's been there and loves it. And I got
Piscini's
that to
a great
impress
guy.
him.
He could never do no wrong.
Also Methodical and Panther. Panther is another one that we've been to.
Yeah, we said this last time too. I hate to feel like a broken record, but when I signed up to Trade, I know Bob was working with Trade already, so I took a picture, like excited to show him, like, look, I'm on it now too. And the first bag was literally from Brooklyn Roasters, which is, you were like, I could go and get that in 10 seconds. Yeah. And yeah, it was roasted.
A roaster in Brooklyn.
It was roasted right near Bob and then sent to me in Texas.
Yep.
So...
But no, I also have my own subscription to Trade that I've had for at least 2 years now. So they send me coffee for these sponsor reads, and I also just get coffee that I pay for. So I get a lot of Trade.
And if for whatever reason you don't like our picks and you think that we don't know coffee, which would offend Bob more than it does me, but I'm not happy about it, don't worry. Trade will have whatever it is you want. You can shop their most popular coffees by a roast or flavor profile. Yeah, also that's a big thing. Flavor profiles. They have so many. Sometimes I get them and they say like nutmeg, orange, cinnamon, or
those
like
are the tasting notes.
Chocolate, marshmallow, vanilla. You know, it's so good.
What you do when you take the little Trade test, it'll ask you what flavor profiles you prefer.
Yeah.
Some of it will say, I like fruity notes. Some of it will say, I like traditional coffee. And some of it will say, I want a wacky and a wild.
A wacky. Also, you can pick if you prefer light, dark, or medium roast.
Yeah.
That usually dictates caffeine levels, but also kind of the thickness and the flavor of the coffee.
If you're doing espresso, medium or dark.
I like light only because it has more caffeine, but
That's
you
weird.
do
It's weird for espresso.
Coffee's coffee, man. I just like good coffee. And you can also pick how often it arrives to your door. It can be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly.
I have changed the frequency back and forth many times.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Because when they send, the problem is when they send me coffee, I'll get like 5 bags at once, and then I still pay for mine, and I'm like, all right, now I got too much freaking coffee.
It's not like other subscription models you might find other places where like it is hoops to jump through to try and cancel something.
They're super cool
I have
about it.
straight up canceled trade before. Sorry, trade. Only because we were moving and the bags were getting piled up and I didn't have time to make coffee and I didn't want the beans to not be fresh when I get to them. And it was easy. I just put it on hold and then I activated it when I wanted to.
Yeah, you can put it on snooze. It's
you
great.
can go snooze. You can go bi-weekly and it's just an option on the website and they don't try and yell at you. So if you want to support small businesses and brew the best cup of coffee you've ever made at home, it's time to try Trade Coffee. Right now, Trade is offering our listeners a total of $30 off your first order plus free shipping at drinktrade.com/Nontendo. That's drinktrade.com/Nontendo for $30 off.
That's great. That sounds like a good deal.
I mean,
How do I get that deal?
I mean this. I honestly can't imagine not. I mean, this is going to be a lifetime thing for me now. It's freshly roasted. Here's the thing. Another thing real quickly. Before I was on Trade, and a reason why I wanted to get on Trade is Steven, friend of mine. You know Steven? He actually sent me freshly roasted beans from somewhere completely different. He just thought it would be nice because he knew I just got a coffee machine and it changed my life. So as soon as Trade started sending them like fresh, it's a whole different experience grinding your own fresh beans.
Yeah, I always wanted to get into that, and I don't even think I tried anything else. I think I just straight up went to. I mean, I tried like some stuff from like the supermarket and like going to a coffee shop or whatever. But Trade sends you new stuff from a different roaster all the time, and they're always fresh. So it's a great way to try different coffees.
It seems obvious, but it's not as obvious as it seems. Like you go to a store and you grab a bag of beans, you take it home, you roast it, but how long have they been sat there for? They're like these.
A lot of times they don't have a roasting date.
Yeah, there's these dried
They have an
out beans.
expiration date, which is not the same.
These dried out, crispy, crunchy beans that you're putting in your blender, and it's like they taste fine, especially when you mix them up and put your little flavors in. But if you get like freshly roasted, like still kind of glistening beans, you just pour in some oat milk and drink that thing fresh.
I think that's when I stopped using sugar. Was when I started
it doesn't
my
need
Trade
anything.
subscription.
You don't need to put anything in it. You just put some milk or oat milk.
A little milk, and we're good.
Anyway, now I'm just riffing, but
drinktrade.com/Nontendo.
yes, supporting our sponsors directly does help the show, and you get something cool back in return. So thank you. Whether you support the sponsors or you support us on Patreon, or if you do both, man, you're crushing it. Thank you.
Or if you buy my shirt at Wolfden Apparel.
Or if you buy shirts, possibly we won't talk about that yet. Sweaters, possibly sweaters. We might be taking pre-orders right now, depending on when we want to line
not
that
now,
up.
Jesus Christ.
Well, this is in like 2 weeks. You wanted Black Friday.
Yes, that's not Black Friday.
Well, it's coming up.
A
It's
whole month after this
weeks.
goes up.
Oh, okay. Sometimes I forget one. I always think Black
Get
Friday's
ready.
in
Get
October.
your credit cards ready for Black Friday sale over on.
Don't spend anything for the next 30
Yeah.
days.
Just saying, Wolfden Apparel, same store as the Nontendo store, so you could double up on merch. Just saying.
Yes, whatever. I want to talk about me again.
You could talk about you when you make some shirts.
When I make some what?
Shirts.
Oh, okay. We lost Kim.
Kim had enough of this conversation. Where did we leave off? We left off with Monkey Island. You playing Monkey Island. Oh, we want to get to the GameCube.
Yeah, that's right. Let's just continue the journey.
I think my brother bought a GameCube when he got a job.
I'll say
I was very lucky to have an older brother. He like paved the way for me.
I love Will. I'll say while we're in the 64 era, this is the only time I'll mention this because it is important. It's important to me and important, I think, to the overall story. When I got my 64, I was probably around 13, 14 is when I started really realizing that there was something wrong and that I had depression. At the time, my mother was very, very controlling. I've told this story before. I wasn't allowed out of the house. Like I literally was a prisoner in the house. And often I would be sent to my bedroom just for the day. I was allowed to do stuff in the room. I just wasn't allowed to come out. So having video games there, especially something like Ocarina of Time and then 64, Smash and Majora's Mask and all the other games I ended up getting, they were my only friends. Like I wasn't able to go and do anything, hang out with anyone. And that is really where I like fell in love with video games. I swear, using Blockbuster as my crutch, I probably played half of the 64 library that was available in Australia. And from there, I've just been totally hooked with video games. And I think fast forwarding, but we'll get back, is obviously a part of all of that, has helped me grow as a content creator and connect with people. The love of video games, but also mental awareness has gone hand in hand with, I think, when people connect with me and my content so much. But that was really the time where it gelled as one, and I realized that video games were my escape from what hurt inside.
It makes a lot of sense to me now why you don't like playing retro games so much, because that's not a good memory for you.
Not really.
For me, it is. Like I find a lot of comfort
for
in
me. And also, I had a brother, but because of the relationship between our parents and everything, we were both shut in our rooms, our separate rooms. It's really sucks and it's really sad, but I didn't really get to have a brother growing up. I barely knew him, and we definitely didn't get to play games together or hang out together or do anything together. So yeah, my memories of playing games growing up was me playing games. And I don't know, they're not exactly the happiest times. I just liked video games.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was the exact opposite for me. I was locked out of the house sometimes because they wanted to kick me out of the house. And also, if I was home and in my room, I wasn't allowed to close the door.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that
they wanted everything out in the open all the time.
That was a rotating rule in my house. Sometimes the door had to be open. Other times that didn't matter. Just get in there. I think it depended on what my parents wanted to do that day.
Yeah, I understand.
But
yeah. So why don't you have nostalgia for like the N64 generation? Because that seems like the one that kind of grew into video games.
I definitely do, especially with like Ocarina of Time and stuff. I don't know, maybe it is. I never really thought about it.
I think the characters probably have some sort of nostalgia, and that's why you're into Nintendo.
Maybe my nostalgia is hardwired in differently because of the time I played. I never really thought about that. But I mean, games like Smash is why I love Smash so much, and why I love Zelda so much, and why like I will go back and play all the Zeldas. Like I have huge nostalgia for that stuff. Yeah, and 64 in general.
For me, I had friends that we became friends because of video games and stuff. Even like Game Boy stuff, trading Pokemon, going over friends' house playing Smash Brothers, talking about what games we're playing and how to beat games and stuff. Playing games with my brother, like all that stuff got me super down the video game rabbit hole. And then we became YouTubers somewhere along the way. How did that happen?
Well, my rabbit hole of that stuff did end up happening. I left home at 16, not necessarily by choice. And
when did the camera turn on for you?
It's never turned off, baby.
We both started our channels almost at the exact same time.
I started my channel in May, and my channel is about to turn 10 next year. So, 2013.
Yeah, but I thought it was September of 2013.
May 2013 is when I started my channel.
Because I started mine in September
but
of
I'm not at my channel yet.
Okay.
So I left home and ended up moving with my grandparents from 16 to 18, and my grandparents are super chill. They didn't like my parents either.
Good,
it was a mutual war, but we were on the winning side because we were happy. And they helped me come out of my shell a lot, and I was allowed to go to parties and hang out with friends and live a normal life. And I made a lot of friends I was able to hang out with. And a lot of those friends were into Xbox. So I had a Wii at the time because I saved up and got a Wii for Christmas. But the Wii, I started to realize, kind of sucked. Now looking back,
because you were getting the Wii versions of games. Yeah.
Now looking back on it, there was obviously fun games there. But I was getting the Wii versions of games that my friends were getting on Xbox, and they were like sick on Xbox, especially the wrestling games. And we were like big into wrestling, and I was getting these watered down versions. And then I would go to their house to play wrestling with them, and they would kick my butt because the game was completely different.
Yeah.
So I ended up trading my Wii for a 360. And at the time, I didn't even think about the fact that for the first time in my life, I was leaving Nintendo. I was like, this kind of sucks now, and I want a 360. So I got heavy into 360. And even if you look at my game collection in my house right now, 360 is like the largest collection I have. It's just, I think the Switch has taken it over now.
It's definitely taken it over. Look at your wall.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I have a lot of 360.
Yeah, no, my physical collection is mostly 360.
Yeah,
That's just because of how old we are.
I got at least a couple hundred of those.
That was when we were super into video games.
Yes.
Video games were in their stride, and we had money.
I have probably played more Switch than anything just because it became my job.
Yeah.
But 360 as a video gamer growing up is the console I definitely put the most hours into. Yeah. I put so many hours into that. And that's where I know I said like 64, I realized I was a gamer, but it was 360 where I was like, I want everything. Like I'm looking at PlayStation and I'm realizing what PlayStation has. So I ended up buying, I saved up at work and got a PS3 with Uncharted. And Uncharted, the reason why I did it was because of Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain came out and I was like, this game is sick. So I got PlayStation with Uncharted and then I was like, this game is sick. Got Heavy Rain, got all the exclusives, got Last of Us, got into that. Then I started realizing the mistake I had made selling my Wii. So I bought one back and had all three. And since then, I've never gone back to not having every console.
360 was when I started working at GameStop. I got it and I was playing it. And then I bought a Wii with my own money somehow. I've told this story on the podcast before. It was the coldest day of the year, and me and my friends went to the Nintendo store in the city.
And your dad was like...
My dad was running
or something.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
And my friend's dad was dropping us off, and he was like, who's this psychopath running? It's so cold out. And then it was my dad.
It sounds like a sitcom.
And we were not close to my house. He ran
Why was he there? Because he knew you would be there?
No, that was just his path.
My God, that's wild.
His daily running path. So we were friggin' in high school, and we got dropped off at the train and took the train all the way to Manhattan and bought Wiis because they had an allotment of Wiis every day. But anyway, I had a 360 before that, and then I started working at GameStop and learned so much more about video games and like learned about all the new cool stuff that was going on. And my friends were like into video games, but not as into it as I was becoming. And I was talking to all, every day I would get to talk to all these people about video games. Yeah. It was freaking awesome. And I would go home and I would look at like IGN and like, G4 and like watch all this like content and get really into like the journalism and like all the new games that are coming out and stuff. And I got super into that. And then I kind of took it all out at GameStop. Like I got to talk about all this cool stuff that I was learning. And then after I quit GameStop, it all like, I started to realize like I'm losing the outlet to like expel all of this. Like
I get that.
Like I had a fun time.
Yeah.
Like
you
talking
missed
about
talking about it.
Yeah. And I had no like close friends that were like as into it. So that's part of why the channel ended up happening.
Yeah. I can 100% relate.
Yeah.
When I was working at a hardware store, that I think I got that job.
You got really into tools.
Really into tools. They called me Wood the Tool Man Taylor.
Or just Wood, because that's a tool.
That's true. It is. Well, it's more of a.
That's where you got your name.
More of a resource than it is. Is
that how your channel name? Like people ask me, where'd you come up with Wolf Den? And I'm like, well, it's my fucking name.
Yeah, that's a good point. I looked at a genre of video game and was like, I'll have that, please. And then YouTube said, you can't be called Shoot 'em Ups. That sounds weird. And I
understand that.
I was like, that makes sense. I guess Beatemups then. I really liked Shoot 'em Ups at the time and didn't like Beatemups.
What is a Shoot 'em Up? I think of shmup, and that's like
that is it.
That with the point.
Shmup is literally shoot 'em up. You're just saying it really fast.
I know, but I'd never seen you play a shmup before.
Because I don't like them anymore.
Okay.
I was getting into them at the time.
This whole time we're talking about your gaming journey, you haven't mentioned one shmup.
I did. There was literally like one or two at the time. I was like, these are cool. I just liked the name Shoot 'em Up. I'm like, that sounds really cool.
I'm so happy your name's not Shmup.
I really don't know what I was thinking. I really don't. I'm also glad I didn't know shmup was a way of abbreviating it. Otherwise, I might have gone with that. I literally just went, well, if I can't have that Beatemups, I'm going to have to go with the only other one, which is Beatemups. Like there's not. I remember, we're jumping ahead, but I remember at the time I was making the channel with a friend of mine called Kane. And the idea initially was that we wanted a joint channel where we had a show called The Legend of Wooden Cane. The channel name we didn't care about. We thought the show mattered. Like, people aren't going to care what the channel name is. They're going to be watching the show, the content.
I made that mistake.
So we would literally like, well, we have the show name. Perfect. What should we name the channel? Doesn't matter. No one's going to care. Shoot 'em ups. And we're like, okay, that sounds cool.
Because we were thinking like TV.
Yeah.
And that's not how it works.
Yeah. It really didn't seem like it mattered at the time.
Yeah.
So that people ask now, they're like, where'd you get you must love Beatemups. Where'd you get the name? It was just literally, we just picked it one day. Like it was just out of nowhere. And it was the backup pick that we didn't even like. It just was the other game genre that sounded like the one we wanted. There's no reason for it. We got too far ahead. Where was I?
We were in the
hardware
360
store.
era.
I was talking about the hardware store. So I worked in a hardware store. I was like 19. And everyone else, I worked with we worked in the night fill. So it was a lot of like, they would hire a lot of guys around my age because we would heavy lift a bunch of crap on the shelves. And of course, guys around my age liked a couple of things, girls and video games. So really all we would ever talk about is video games. We would only ever talk about, and because I played video, I was like,
I hate girls.
Because I hate girls. I came around on that though. Because I was a guy that had all the consoles. Everyone would always come to me and be like, hey, you played this? Or what do you know about this? And usually between me and my like circle of about 8 to 10 friends that are still friends today from high school that are all big video gamers. I have everything from like one of them, like Seppo, was big into PC and shooters. Michael is big into action adventure games and he plays on Xbox mostly. Drew will play a lot of like weird things. So we all had so much coverage, and at the very least I would see them playing one of the games even if I hadn't played it. So I would be like, oh yeah, I've heard of that game. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. And yeah, I just became the guy at work that everyone would come to for video game knowledge. And I just loved working with the guys that liked and girls, but mostly guys at my job specifically.
In a hardware store.
At a hardware store that liked talking about video games. And that's all we would talk about all day. And yeah, eventually when Kane and I wanted to start a channel, it was more to go out and like look for video games and do like a clone of like Game Chasers kind of thing. But around that, I realized I was starting to want to talk about games on the channel. So I would make videos on the channel on my own, just talking about video games. And that became an outlet for me to do that. And then eventually Kane got bored of the channel and wanted to step away. So I just kept talking about games.
For anybody who wants to start a YouTube channel, it's a very bad idea to do it with another person.
Yeah. Yes.
It never, ever, ever works.
You can start a channel, get solidified, then get help and try and work with someone. But
somebody needs to be in charge.
To start from day one with something, whatever you do day one is not going to end up looking or feeling or being anything like what you end up actually doing if it becomes successful. Yeah. So you're going to change, everything's going to change, and then the relationship dynamic's going to change, and they're going to want to do one thing, and then I'm going to want to do another thing, and then it's messy.
For the longest time, I said the only reason why my channel worked with I'm jumping ahead, but the only reason why my channel worked with my brothers is because we were brothers and we were forced to love each other. Like
that's sweet though.
And Will kind of like, when he saw that like I was doing a lot and like, you know, my videos were doing better, he kind of was just like, whatever you want to do, doesn't matter. He like kind of took a backseat. He was
I can't tell you how much I love Will. Like I met him one time, but I was already getting the vibe. But he is so cool, and yeah, I can totally see him being like, "Yeah, okay, my stuff isn't working as well, and your stuff is obviously do it." So
to roll it back a little bit, when I quit GameStop, you know, I had no outlet to talk about video game stuff. I wanted to be an illustrator, and I was trying to do comic book stuff, you know, or I wanted to do video game concept art, but I just couldn't get my stuff to look like the great concept art that I liked looking at. So I leaned a little bit more into sequential art and comic books and storyboarding and stuff. And I also sucked at that.
Mhm.
But I had a shitty comic at the time, and I was trying to get like a little illustrative career going. And that was after I graduated college. So I was trying to like do something. I was trying to get a job. And my brother went to school for film, and he wasn't doing anything. I don't remember what job he had. He like wasn't using his film degree at all. And I was like, you gotta start a YouTube channel. All we do is watch YouTube people, and it's just people sitting there staring at a camera talking about nerd shit. And that's all we do to each other is we just talk about nerd stuff.
And back then, most of the content was literally people just staring at a camera and talking.
Yeah, some of our inspiration, people like Black Nerd Comedy.
Same.
Greg Miller.
I definitely looked to him for inspiration. I messaged Black Nerd Comedy once before I started a channel to ask him about advice on how to start a channel, because I watched a panel that he did before I started a channel about starting one. And he was like, whenever people message me, I like to give them advice. So I was like, oh,
and they didn't answer.
Never replied.
He's great. I saw him at a convention and I forced him to be on a vlog, and he was very nice.
He's very, very nice. I've met him since.
So is Greg Miller.
And I told him, I sent him a message once, and he was like, okay, cool.
So, and also like the Game Grumps, just a lot of, we had a lot of inspiration of people that just did like, like low effort content of them talking about game stuff, because people are just interested in the game. They don't, or the stuff you're saying. So I was like, Will, take the camera you have, turn it on yourself and make a freaking video. And then like a week or two went by after I said that, and he goes, I've been thinking about what you said about starting a YouTube channel, and I'll do it, but if you do it with me.
Okay.
And then I was like, all right, fine. I was like,
wow. So we owe Will for all of this.
He is
He should really get 5% of the podcast.
I would never, ever put a camera on myself. But because I saw Will do it, and he had no problem. My brother's very...
Yeah.
He's got no problem just like walking up to people and be like, hey, you like just owning it.
I like that.
I'm like, if he can do that, then
anyone can.
Then I should just act like I can do that.
Well, you're still selling it.
So if you look at really early videos, I'm very quiet and I talk like this, and you can barely
I think
understand what I'm
everybody
saying.
does.
It's very dark. I just started to pretend like the camera was Will, and I would just talk to him.
That's really cute.
And that's how we did it. And I would talk. We talked about how we tried to make it like an actual TV channel. His show was about comic books. My show was about games. And then we have another show that's the two of us together talking like we are right now.
Yeah.
And
I love the idea.
It's a great idea.
Sadly,
format does not work on YouTube.
YouTube hates that.
And we stuck with that for a
way too long.
Yes.
No, not way too long, but
it was way too long.
Yeah, okay. I remember we started talking.
Yeah.
And you were still doing that. And I was looking at your channel and I was like,
it hurt the channel.
Yeah.
It was a detriment to the channel.
I never wanted to say anything really, but every time I would see it, I was like,
no, it was very open.
Couldn't be me.
and we were so stubborn about it because we were like, YouTube will change eventually. Like one day they'll have a feature that will like split it or something. And we're looking at channels like Game Theory, and we're like, they have multiple shows and that works out fine. And guess what? They stopped doing that too.
Yeah.
So YouTube just never changed the way we wanted it to. We were like, we're going to be on the forefront when YouTube finally figures this shit out. And also I was trying to like find ways to get Will's comic book videos to be a little better and for people to like be more interested in it. And it just never happened. So,
there's also, there's obviously an interest there. And if it was a dedicated channel to it, it could grow a following. Yeah. But there just isn't as much interest in comic books as video games.
Yeah. I mean, there's
on YouTube.
There's a lot of great comic book channels.
No, 100%.
That do a lot.
There's definitely less video game comic book channels than video game channels.
I would say yes. It's there's more people watching gaming content, but it doesn't mean that comic books couldn't be successful.
No, absolutely.
But both on the same channel, probably not good.
You've got something that is always going to perform less than the other one, so it's always going to skew your analytics and make you both suffer as a result.
But also because every time I would upload a video, YouTube would be like, everybody likes Nintendo Switch. So, and we really only started to get views when, well, actually, let me finish my thought. I'm
doing
going
the
to go
same
back
thing.
again. I would upload a video. People would be like, oh, it's Nintendo Switch. People are interested in this. And they would ride the algorithm. Then Will would upload a video on a comic book. And they'd be like, wait, this isn't Nintendo Switch. Nobody cares. And they would show it to nobody. So I was hoping that it would be a certain thing where like, oh, it's a Nintendo Switch video. Oh, it's a Batman video. You know, like people love when you do a Batman video, but YouTube never learned that.
But it's also, unless all he's doing is Batman videos, the algorithm is never going to learn that Batman videos on this channel do really well.
Yeah.
He's probably doing a different kind of comic book every single episode. So
Well,
he's
it was like what I was doing. I was doing all different types of video game content until Switch happened, and then I wrote that.
Incorporated in Switch, where you can use the Switch SEO.
Well, not necessarily. I did upload videos on like PlayStation and Xbox and stuff.
Okay. But for the most part.
I ended up leaning into Switch because it was working.
Yeah.
But there was a time when like beginning of Switch, I was doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still thinking it could work. All the way up until like 2019, I was still thinking things could work and I was trying to figure stuff out. The problem was my videos were getting so successful that it was being worse and worse for Will's videos. And mine were making a lot of money. I was
a lot of money.
Oh, so much.
Man.
Well, I quit my job and was doing YouTube full time, and he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like trying to get him to like do it and like, oh, help me out. We could do, whatever. And he just didn't want. He likes having like a normal job.
Mm-hmm.
So I really tried to make things work, but we both owned the channel together and the company together, and then we got like the first tax return. And as a 50-50 split of the company, he's got to pay taxes on my videos that did good. Like,
oh, yeah, that's getting messy.
That was the first time it was like, all right, you shouldn't have to. We need to work out something so that you don't have to pay this. And then he got married, and his wife has to pay taxes on my videos that are doing good. So it got really weird.
That's a great setup for you.
I know. So I was like, all right, we'll take like 10% of the company. And then you'll pay like 10% of the taxes. But then the next year, the channel did so much better. 10% ended up still being a lot of money.
Oh my God.
So we were like, all right, you need to get paid as like a freelancer. And then he was like, I kind of just don't want to do it anymore. Okay. It's not working out. He's like, I'm having a child. It's not going to be good. And I was like, I was like, I don't want to like force you to do this. And it would be, he knew that it was hurting.
Yeah.
At that point, he knew that it was bad for the channel that he was even involved at all, which really sucks.
That does suck.
Yeah. So that's when he took a step back, and now we just do the podcast.
I mean, the channel is now growing though.
Yeah, no, it definitely helped.
Yeah.
He kind of just like, took one for the team there. And
That's
it sucks because
awesome.
I would have loved to have continued to do with him, but that's just the way it had to be.
That's so sad, but
I know, it was very sad. That was a crushing moment of my life.
Yeah.
Because that's all I think about is the YouTube channel.
And it's also your brother.
Yeah. It was
not
bad.
his
And Will
fault.
didn't care at all.
Yeah, I know. I can tell.
I was going through a lot of emotional shit when that happened, and he just did not care.
He's just at home like, I got kids, man.
I'm out, dude. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
Wow.
And so when we stopped doing, I also used to do the podcast on the main channel because I was like, who gives a shit? I'm already uploading all this weird stuff.
Yeah. That's bad for algorithm too.
That
so
was
you
also
moved
bad.
that to Twitch.
So when we cut his videos out, I was like, we gotta cut everything out so that my videos can just stand by themselves. So when we stopped doing the podcast, that was like a huge like emotional deal to me too, and we made it look like he was. We got a lot of shit because we made it look like he was leaving the channel, and we cut the podcast or whatever. Then we started it up again on Twitch, and it was different. And it was basically the same thing, but it was more like symbolic to me. It was like I still felt like I was losing him. So that's why we made such a huge deal about it, because it sucked. It sucked for me, but it was better off in the end that everybody do it. So.
It's so sad, but so sweet.
Yeah. And that's why I never start a YouTube channel with somebody else.
Especially someone you love.
Yeah. Well,
no, I'm kidding.
Again, I know a lot of people who start YouTube channels as like a group, and it never works out. And the only reason I was able to work out as long as it did was because he was my brother, and we had like a general understanding of like what to do and how to take things.
I think it'd be different if like the two people were collaborating on the same content every time with a shared goal of making the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you got to be like a Rhett and Link then, because like
or like a husband and wife, or
like two dudes who really like Nintendo and just want to do a podcast.
See, now this is different.
We did actually do exactly that.
We had
I think
established channels first.
Yes, that's true.
I have a lot of
I
friends.
didn't think about that.
who used to shit all over me for starting a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
It's like cringe and stupid because it was pretty cringe when I first started. But
I'm sorry you had those friends. No one said that to me.
I started to work out.
Yeah.
And then they all wanted to be a part of it. And then they all started their own channels and they all crashed and burned because it's hard to do it.
Sucks to be
I know.
you.
It's hard. It's hard to keep
hard.
up with something. And the only reason I was able to keep up with it was because me and my brother used to be like, we disappoint each other if we didn't upload. That's the only reason I was able to do it for as long as I did.
We really owe Will everything, don't we?
Yes.
I want to say, because you talked about like the background of you two leading up to it too. Yeah, kind of the reason why in my group of like 8 to 10 friends, why Kane came to me and was like, hey, we should do this, is because I was the computer nerd too. I in school, all my only classes I really paid attention in were drama and like media and computing. So like I was learning in high school how to edit on a Mac. Yeah. I was putting together little skits. And I would have friends in high school want to like do projects for like their English class or their whatever class. And they're like, I want to do like a little video. Can you help me edit it?
So what happened?
To me?
Yeah.
I got kicked out of home and didn't care anymore.
Now you're breaking graphics cards and shit.
I didn't learn how to repair computers. I learned how to edit.
Right.
So what happened is I'm still editing.
Right.
Bab.
Okay. You have an editor, by the way.
But I still edit. I edited a video that was on the trending tab the other day, Bob. I'll have you know.
You do that.
Edited this friggin' podcast for the first like 10 episodes.
You did.
Anyway, so we started the channel because we also started doing, we were doing home movies and stuff. All of like that same 8 to 10 friend group. We had a bunch of home movies.
Did you do Jackass stuff too? I used to do
Jackass stuff, but we would also film little mini movies and like dumb things that we would edit and splice together. We went from filming on a handy cam where we would have to literally shoot a scene, quickly stop, shoot the next scene, and then you would watch the tape back and you'd have bloopers and all.
Mine had, you put a whole ass VHS in it. Not the little tape. This was a whole VHS.
We had the little mini. And then eventually we upgraded to digital and being able to edit some of them on the tail end there. And then when we got to that point, we realized, well, we could do a YouTube.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I ended up starting a YouTube and that's why we were successful and why the channel was successful initially is because we were entering a scene, a retro gaming scene on YouTube that was primarily filled with older people who were really just kind of sat and staring and talking into a camera and didn't really have too much knowledge on computers or editing or really know how to tell an engaging story or make something fun. And at the start, I wasn't necessarily doing the best of everything, but I at least had like that show that I was doing where I was going around and interviewing people and myself and collecting video games and splicing something fun together. I was doing a little bit more showboaty, which really helped me get off the ground and solidify an audience of a few thousand people. I remember I hit 6,000 subs way quicker than I thought I ever would, and kind of coasted around that for a while and met some people in the retro gaming community who I wanted to come meet in person because they were all in America, which is what brought me to America for the first time.
Okay.
Ended up falling in love with it. And
so what year was that?
We're going back like 7 or 8 years now. It's been a hot minute. I don't know if I can even tell you the year. I was in my 20s, like mid 20s. And then I came over on a visa for like 6 months, applied for another 6 months while I was on that visa because I could apply for an extension. They denied the extension 5 months into applying for it. So essentially I was there for like 10, 11 months. And then they were like, no, you can't stay an extra 6. And I was like, well, I'm here. So at that point, I just had to get out. So I went to Canada on a work visa that I had the whole time, the backup plan. Like even when I was in Australia, I got that work visa because the plan was whenever that happened, I would just jump the border from Seattle to Vancouver and start working there. And I got a job as a waiter, as a server person in a restaurant. And while all of this was happening, I kept the channel going. There were times where I didn't upload for a couple months. There were times where I came back and I uploaded a lot and then went away again. It was very sporadic. It was definitely a hobby. But when I was in Canada, I started making a lot of videos about the Wii U and like trying to get people to play it and talking about how it's actually
trying to ride that Wii U wave.
Really trying, because I loved it. I truly loved it. I mean, I was traveling everywhere all the time, and I had, I think, my 360 with me, and I think I sold my PlayStation because I was like, I can't take everything. So I had my 360 and I had my Wii U. And I was like, this Wii U is so good, man. Look at all the games. And like no one else was really making those videos. And I was getting a lot of like clicks from Nintendo fans. And then because that was kind of doing well, then the Switch was like revealed, the NX. I started making NX videos.
Yeah.
And then those started doing well. And then, well-ish, you know, I was getting up there in like the 10, 20,000 subscriber range. And then when the Switch came out, finally, you know, I streamed myself going and buying it. I streamed myself like setting it up and playing it. Like I was there day one. And then within the first like few months, I made I think it was like 10 Switch games worth buying and 5 to avoid. And then about 6 months into the Switch is when the console itself started to blow up in the public eye. People wanted to get on board, started realizing it was pretty cool, wanted to play Breath of the Wild, blah, blah, blah. And they would start Googling like games worth buying for the Switch. And guess whose video was there?
Yeah.
Me. And maybe like 2 other people.
A lot of people we are friends with in the YouTube space.
Yes.
All came up in the same era.
Like Kevin Kenson and Arlo, I can think of 2.
Spawn
Wave. Yeah.
Probably RGT.
You know.
Basically the whole Spawn cast.
Yeah. It was a bunch of us. I mean, obviously, I feel like me more than anyone, I was making a Switch video like every other day.
Yeah.
Like I remember people were getting like when I made like 10 Switch videos in a row after the Switch came out, I was getting so many comments like, you need to stop doing this. Like this is getting cringe. Like legitimately, they were like, you need to make something else. Talk about PlayStation, go back to retro.
Blame YouTube.
I mean, it wasn't even a conscious thing I was doing at the time. I was just excited. I mean, the views weren't any better than what I was already doing.
Oh, okay.
It's just I was playing Switch and I liked it.
It was a little different for me.
Well, very quickly after that, I started to realize. And at that, because at that point when people started saying that, I was like, you know, you're right. I would make a PlayStation video. I would make a retro video. And guess what?
Yeah, it wouldn't do good.
Wouldn't do as well. So I'd make another Switch video. And then I remember having a rule. I think it was for every 2 Switch videos, I have to put out something different. And I did that for maybe like 3 or 4 months. You could probably go back.
I did that a long time too. Yeah,
you could probably go back to my channel.
I still do that, by the way.
I don't really.
I put a Switch video. I just did a Switch video. I'm going to do an emulator video.
You could probably go back to my channel and pinpoint that era because it was literally like a 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. And then it became 3-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. And then suddenly it's like, I will do something else when I don't want to eat that week. Like I will just keep doing this. And I mean, I'm
actually on my channel right now on the homepage, you'll see playlists and it has Nintendo Switch, then it has Xbox and it has PS5 because I was trying to get everywhere, you know, because also, again, I had a channel with my brother doing comic book stuff. So I was like, it can't be any worse than the comic book stuff. Might as well try everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So the first video of mine that did good was actually how-to on how to fix the PS4 disc eject issue.
I love that video.
Because you don't know what I'm talking about.
That was a banger, dude.
That was a problem I had, and then I learned how to fix it, so I just made a video on it, and it did really well. And I was like, I don't want to be the how-to guy. Nobody wants to subscribe to the how-to guy.
No one.
No. So I didn't fucking do any of that anymore. And then I had a network communication issue on my PlayStation 4. I made a video on that, and then that did good. And I'm like, I don't want to be the how-to guy, though. And then the NX rumors were coming out, and I went hard on the NX rumors, and I just liked speculating about what Nintendo was doing. And that's how a bunch of stuff was coming out. You guys communicating through your eyes?
I just looked at the time and realized it's 7:15 and then looked at Kim right away. Didn't we start at 6?
We started a little late because...
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Where was I?
Just wanted to have a cute moment with my wife.
I didn't want to be the how-to guy.
You kind of are.
I know. So hold on. So I started doing the NX rumor stuff, and I just liked speculating. And I learned that like speculating, especially when you're like a small YouTuber, and like this is gonna give people a lot of ideas. Say weird, wild shit, and then people will comment, and people get really excited.
An interaction.
Because like you have to compete with like the big outlets and stuff. And how are you gonna compete with a big outlet that gets to play with the new technology that you can't.
Speculation videos always do really well. I definitely built my channel off a ton of them. I stopped doing them at some point because I started to realize that they're just not content. You're just you're speculating. You're just talking about something that could or could not happen.
But,
and I don't. For me, it's hard because when you go back and watch that years later, it's nothing. I like to create.
Even though last episode we just talked for an hour about what we think the Mario movie is going to be like.
This is a podcast. It's different.
It's a podcast.
That's a podcast, man. We gotta talk about something.
Yes. So I think the speculation stuff was also an outlet for me because, I said I had nobody to talk about video games with. So talking to people in the comments about what I think's going to happen was pretty cool. And then the Switch came out. And I think the day it came out, I posted a video and it immediately did really good. Mm-hmm. And then I made like a PlayStation video the next week and that tanked.
Wow.
And then the next week I did another Switch video and then that fucking did awesome. I think my best viewed video is still the first Switch video I did.
You know what's weird? I have always had good luck doing videos about PlayStation or even just big games that come out. Some of my biggest viewed videos on my channel, period, are like when I review Last of Us or when I reviewed Red Dead. Obviously, when I did Cyberpunk. When I've done like 5 PlayStation games worth buying, even like 5 PSVR games worth buying. I did 2 of those. They both have over 1 million views. Oh. Those kinds of videos for me, I'm talking like everything I just listed has like 1 million, close to 1 million or more. So, I just don't like doing them as much. Yeah. I'm just so into Switch.
Yeah, you're more interested in that.
And also, we just really haven't had anything like big come out since even Cyberpunk that I really had a lot to say about.
I really love my Xbox Series X, and I played it a lot when it came out for like a year or two. I played it like a lot.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing to say about it.
Yeah, there's nothing. I realized, and this is funny, I tweeted about a month ago, I went to go turn on my Series X. I've been in the house for 3 months and I hadn't even connected to the Wi-Fi yet. I hadn't even turned it on yet. And I thought that was bad. Then you remember the other day, I think it was you, I said, I was like, I want to play Returnal tonight after the podcast. I did. I had to find the power cord for the PlayStation because I hadn't used the PlayStation since I moved in. This has been 4 months. Yeah. You know what I've done since I've been in this house?
Switch and PC.
Switch, PC, and Steam Deck. Yeah. That's all I've done.
I also learned that on my channel, video game, like talking about specific video games wasn't really working. It was more so talking about like tech and like the controllers and stuff.
It's so weird. Mine's kind of the opposite. Yeah. Unless like a new Switch model comes out or like the handheld things.
So what's weird is that like, I'm sure people say this to you all the time. Like when you meet somebody at a convention, they'll go, "Oh my God, Wood, I bought a Switch because of you."
Yes.
I used to get that all the time. I went to Comic-Con the other day and I was with my friends.
Hey, Neo, because of you?
I didn't get Switch once. I got Steam Deck, I got the Mii U Mini, and I got the Retroid Pocket.
Okay, as long as it wasn't
the Amber Nick thing.
Because Neo is very expensive.
One of them was a freaking artist in Artist Alley.
That's really
cool.
He's
like, you're the guy. Look at it. And he showed me his Amber Nick. He's like, I just got the Retroid Pocket. It's coming out soon.
That's cool. Getting a Steam Deck because of you is wild too.
That is weird, yeah.
I haven't had that yet. I want that. I've been thinking about doing a video like 10 games worth playing on Steam Deck or something. I don't know how it would do. I don't think it would do well.
Wait, I don't think so either because no one has it yet. But now they've opened the floodgates. I kind of stopped. I kind of ran out of Steam Deck stuff to talk about. But also I realized, because I think I did one about accessories or something for the Steam Deck. And I realized nobody has it. Nobody's buying accessories. But now that might change. I realized when I talk about stuff like Xbox or PlayStation, it will do bad initially.
Yes.
And then it will pick up like a week.
Well, that's funny.
After a few weeks.
Because you know how I said those PSVR and PlayStation 5 has like 1 million views? Horrible at first. Yeah. Worst views I've ever seen. Worst engagement. Absolute bombs. There was one even I remember I did maybe like a year ago, and I had a sponsor on it. And I remember I was freaking out with Paul because I'm like, this video's got 30,000 views today. And usually I was getting like, at that point, like 70, 80,000 views in a day. I was like, this one's had 30,000. It's dead. It's dead. No one was watching it. And he's like, it's fine. We'll see if the sponsor says anything. And the video was dead for like the next week or two. I was bummed out about it. I looked at it like 6 months later, over 1 million views. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But every time with the PlayStation stuff,
That's a YouTube thing. I mean, it's because your subscribers don't care.
They
They're
don't
Switch
care.
people, but nobody's talking about this stuff on YouTube, so it hits the search algorithm.
Yeah,
People
well,
just friggin' ride with
YouTube
it.
values click-through rate so hard.
Yeah.
So every time a video is shown or seen on a homepage or anywhere, subfeed anywhere, the amount of people that click on that video over the other videos will boost its click rate. And then if I click another video, it will lower the click rate. So when I upload like a PlayStation video and it hits a sub feed and all my subs are like, I don't watch him for that. You subscribers, you tank that video for me because you're seeing it, not clicking on it, you're lowering the click-through rate. But what happens then is people that care about PlayStation search PlayStation games worth buying. I like to think that I have pretty decent titles and search engine. My video pops up, my face holding some games. They go, oh, that's what I was looking for. So later on, once it seeds out and it dies, everyone's searching and then going, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one. It's improving that click-through rate again. And then it starts realizing, oh, we should share this video out to PlayStation people. And then it ends up blowing up to 1 million.
Yeah.
That's how YouTube works.
And it's unfortunate.
It isn't. It isn't. I mean, it works, I guess.
It works in a really weird way, but it influences what we talk about.
Yeah.
Which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah. But then again, like if the people that watch me wanted me to talk about that, they'd watch it in the first place.
It's a good point. Well,
So-
I mean, you know how it is. Everybody's always like, oh, I loved that video. Do that again. And it's like, I can't because nobody watched it.
Yeah. No, I agree. But it's also...
I tell people when I say click the bell, I say click the bell only if you're going to watch every video. If you don't watch every video, don't get notifications because you're going to ruin my channel.
That's a lot of pressure to put on someone.
I know. I don't say it like that, but I mean it like that.
Yeah, YouTube. I don't know. YouTube's weird. I put up my last video was 50 upcoming games for the Switch, and I like
That's
making
a lot of
those.
games.
I like making those videos because they're fun for me to make. I actually do really like doing the research, writing it out, filming it, seeing how the editor finds all the gameplay, and like making them sweat finding 50 games. But ultimately, I think it's cool to do it and it's fun to do it. But I know that they're not the most engaging videos, and they're not necessarily fun for anyone. But they always do so well in the algorithm.
It's fun for the people who want a new game. People are stagnant on what they have and they want something
yeah,
new. So
I
you
think
tell
just
them.
for my content, it's like you don't get a chance to experience wood in that video. I just rattle off a bunch of games
well,
that are coming.
then it's for non-subscribers.
That most of those views come from non-subscribers.
I was, working at GameStop or something, I would eat a video like that up because I'd be like, "What's out there? What's new? Let's see." And I'd be just fanatical about it.
Well, a lot of people that watch me do like it, but it definitely did tank the day it uploaded, and then the next day it picked back up again, which is what always happens with those videos because my subs kind of look at it and they're like, "I'm not really going to get to watch wood in this one." But then the algorithm goes, oh, this is good. Because people sit through and they watch the whole thing or at least skip around, which sucks. You're not watching the whole thing, but you're still staying attentive and you're still clicking through and watching at least a little bit of the whole video before bailing.
I really feel like I have no grasp on what's going to do good anymore.
Really?
Sometimes, like I can kind of tell, like if a fucking new console comes out, like yeah, that's going to do good. But like the Miu Mini video did good. Why? That's been out forever.
With you, it's wild because I see you upload something like that and I'm like, couldn't be me. That is you spent, and I know you spend a week on each of your videos, and I'm like, you just spent a week on what now? But then I'll look back at it a few days later and you got 100,000 views. So you're crushing it. I'm so happy for you.
Sometimes I don't. Some videos I'm like, this will do good. I uploaded the video on the Joy-Cons for iOS and Steam Deck and whatever because there's that feature on YouTube that shows you what your subscribers are searching on YouTube. And one of the top ones was iOS 16. And I was like,
smart.
You can use Joy-Cons.
That's smart.
On that and Steam Deck. So I put that in the title and everything. I uploaded the video and then I looked at that research tab. It's not there anymore. Nobody was looking at iOS 16 anymore. Video fucking tanked.
That sucks. That's a smart idea though for coming up with a video idea.
The top one, and it's probably the top one for you, ASMR. And I think I want to do an ASMR video on the clicky controllers and stuff. If I do that though,
Why
I can't have
are
a
you
sponsor.
nodding over there?
He does the text.
It is a good idea. She was looking at me and nodding like, you should do it yourself.
No, I was just nodding, and then I looked at you. I was like communicating with my eyebrows, like the timer's about to go off.
Oh, okay. We talked about how we got into YouTube.
We kind of went all the way up till now.
We went all the way up to now, and we talked about sort of the trials and tribulations. I think the one thing we didn't really talk about is, if we even wanted to, like keys to the success of how we actually
definitely did.
We did? Okay.
Well, not
A lot of it is luck, though.
I mean, it's luck, but you can also force your way into some luck if you really try hard enough.
Yes. I don't know.
It's like going to a casino and betting on black until it hits black.
That's actually a great way of describing it. I like that a lot.
Maybe not black, maybe like a number. Because you got to sit there and do it over and over again until you finally hit one.
You need a lot of pieces to come together, and then you need to get luck. I mean, you need to have the quality, the presentation, the personality,
absolutely,
the know-how. And then once you put it all together, you need to have some luck to get out there.
Absolutely.
But I have always been really, I don't have many things, or I didn't. Now I have many things I'm proud of in my life. Looking at Kim specifically, of course.
I watched that. I saw that happen. He's proud of you.
I'm very proud. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of everything we've built together. I'm proud that I have you, because I would like to think that means that I deserve you, and I've become the kind of person to deserve you. Okay, so I'm very proud of that.
I'm here too.
But up until a lot of this and all of this, one of the things the only thing I was proud of was my channel, and it's because I knew what I was doing for most of it.
It felt
like
really strange.
At some point, I had figured out YouTube. I had learned what worked as far as thumbnails and learning to play the algorithm and playing search engine optimization and learning how YouTube worked. Mm-hmm. And even to the point where one day, finally, recently, a year or two ago, I got in contact with a YouTube rep, and I unleashed everything that I thought I knew about YouTube and I had learned. And he was like, yeah, that's it. And like, he's helped me and he's taught me some more things from there and taught me about new features. But it was nice having that validation of like, I leaned into something that was working, which is Switch, but I made that work. And it's not, we both made that work. And it's not as easy as it looks. It's not as easy as it even looked back then, because you did need a special kind of something, but then you also had to know how to play and game the YouTube algorithm and be willing to do it.
Yeah. For me, the validation was like, like when a guy from a company or like a guy in a suit is like, I like what you're doing. I want a little piece of what you're doing. And it's like, me?
Yeah,
this guy, this little thing I've been doing in my parents' basement.
It is weird. And, I talk about this with Kim sometimes too, but my videos, when I launch them, they'll get, 100,000 in the first day, couple 100,000 usually before they start slowing down. And then if they take off, they're around 4 or 5. I have plenty that have like approached 1 million. And like, I'm not trying to brag. It's just when you compare it to TV and like people
my dad does all the time.
With people, like literally, you think of TV shows where they have whole casts of people and a budget and producers, and they're like dying to get 500,000 views each week on an episode. Like that's like, we're staying on TV, guys, and they have to pay everybody and do all of that.
My dad would be like, ABC is only getting like 100,000 views a day.
Well, he's right.
I know.
It's wild, dude.
Yeah.
It is wild. Like I even with AEW, for example, are crushing it right now. They're doing great in the ratings. They're hovering about 1 million views every time they do a live ratings. They get 1 million like live viewers concurrent. Well, no, that's like the show. That the week to week they'll get like 1 million
for the whole show.
For the ratings, of like 1 million people. Usually they'll say like, oh, this show got 1.2. This show just didn't scrape 1 million. It was like 9, 5, whatever.
Right.
That's how many people have tuned in and watched the show.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
It's not.
It must be a lot for.
It's a lot.
What about when we started this podcast and we were like, these podcasts must be like getting the insane amount of listens.
Okay, well now you're bragging very directly about our podcast.
No, but when we shot to number 1, we were not getting a lot of listens. We were like, they were only getting that many. We were like, are you serious?
That was bizarre. We held number 1 for the first 4 episodes, top 5 spot for the first while,
and we were not getting a lot of
not getting a lot of listens
at all. We were like, really?
Why are we at 11 now? Though is my question.
Yeah,
Why are we
Brandon's
dipping
back.
down?
What happened?
I think the ratings work differently than just listen to listen. I think they have an algorithm there too.
Oh.
Well,
We're
otherwise
only really
it doesn't
looking
make
at
sense
iTunes.
because our listens go up all the time, but we keep going down. So I don't know.
Our listens per podcast have been going
we're
up?
doing better and better.
Oh, that is
Or at the
weird.
very least staying stable.
Then it has to be an algorithmic thing. Because, I mean, I was like, how could we be number 1?
We'll take a look at it later.
We got to take a look at it later. We need a podcast person to talk to because this is another thing. We have no idea what we're doing.
Well, we really
We
don't.
just jumped into this like we did with making YouTube videos and just hoping something works out.
I think I'm happy.
It's been working out.
Yeah, I think it's been going pretty good.
We hoped enough that it worked out.
We had a sponsor today. We've gotten much closer.
Oh.
We
Physically, actually,
we were a little touch and go there at the start.
This podcast almost didn't happen a lot of times.
And now
that's part of the luck of success.
Now I don't want to jinx it, but I can't imagine having that situation happen with us again. I think we've both become very very understanding of each other.
Yes,
which
that's
I appreciate
very
a lot.
important. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have definitely become very understanding.
I like this. I like this. I love this. And I love you guys. And I love you.
Oh, thank you.
And I love everyone. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. This was a fun one, actually. Bob and I said before this is going to be one of the least viewed episodes, but the most loved.
Yeah, and everybody's going to be like, you should do that again. And we're going to be like, we can.
And then
nobody fucking watched it.
You can reference what we talked about in this episode today as to why we don't do another one, but we agree we also love this one the most. So we're going to have this as our special little time. Thank you, Kimberly, for being here. We're now going to do a bonus episode. Oh my God.
Yay!
I can't believe we're not out of things to talk about. Rate the episode 5 stars. Leave a little rating for us. Comment down below. If you're watching the live premiere, thank you so much. The premieres are so much fun. You should join them. You really should join them. Everybody watching the lives, it helps the numbers. Again, while we're talking about the algorithm, the more people in the live, the higher that number, the higher it posts how many views and interest the episode have when it ends up posting, and then that helps it share out in the algorithm even more. So pile into the premieres 1 p.m. every single Thursday Eastern time on the Nontendo Podcast channel. All right, that's it. I'm done.
we're in the chat. You can talk to us.
But did you not know that? We're in the chat.
We're right here.
Talking to everybody. And if you ever want this show to actually go live one day, you're going to have to show up to the premiere and show us that it's worth it. So
we did that once.
We did it once.
You might get surprised with a live us.
We might be live right now. This could be live. It's not.
No, we know this one isn't.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.